If only the picture could change, and I could be always what I am now. I would give my soul for that.
The vain jealousy which prompted Dorian Gray to utter this fateful prayer was destined to sweep him into a life so fraught with vice and evil that its marks became horrible to behold. For the mad wish of Dorian Gray was granted, and day by day he watched his sins etch themselves upon his painted portrait, while he himself stayed young and handsome.
The Weeknd put an older version of himself on the cover of Dawn FM because the album is his picture of Dorian Gray. It starts out as a way to hide his sins, but becomes a place to accept and move on from them.
Heaven's for those who let go of regret. You have to wait here when you're not all there yet.
In the novel by Oscar Wilde, Dorian spends 18 years in a life of sin and can't ignore the corruption of his soul. He could see it in the aging of his painting. He knows only confession will bring it back to what it was. He just doesn't feel guilty for anything he's done. To attempt to stay beautiful forever, he tries to destroy the evidence and stab the painting, after which his servants find him dead in his room, his body old and withered, while the painting is back to its pure original state. Like Dorian, Abel tries to kill the old self, the after-hours Abel, whose soul has been corrupted by vice, at one last attempt to hold on to his celebrity lifestyle and life of pleasure forever. But as the album progresses from this first third, this series of songs representing the denial of death and that last struggle to hold on, it reaches its turning point, the song Out of Time, an acceptance of his mistakes in the way he treated people, and an acknowledgement of the trauma that made him act that way. Prefaced by Quincy's tale describing how that trauma affects his actions.
I will never forget watching my mother get put in a straitjacket and taken out of my home when I was only 7 years old. It bled into my relationships with family and those I had become romantically involved with. Whenever I got too close to the woman, I would cut her off.
This third is where we see his confession. The difference between Dorian and Abel is that he does feel guilty, just like Bill Hartford from Eyes Wide Shut, the film that inspires the occult imagery of lust and sin in the album's visuals. When he goes back home to his wife after a night of rituals and infidelity, and can't escape the symbols of his guilt, his mask from the party waiting for him on the bed when he arrives, and he's pushed by that guilt to confess. Abel gets his most personal and honest on this third, opening up to the reality of the pain his toxicity causes others, and accepting any form of punishment needed to atone and properly purify his soul. As Jim Carrey explains in the closing track, describing the regret that exists after the body is gone, it's impossible to move on to heaven until you become heaven, revealing and letting go of the mistakes of the past. This album is that process. It's that wait in between. It's that reflection for Abel and the soundtrack for ours. Abel described this process as both bleak and celebratory. After letting go of the darkness and ugliness of your past, you can finally look back at life in this time of waiting and appreciate the beauty and successes of it. A bittersweet, dance beat-filled final third to close off Abel's journey to the other side. His journey from the after hours of the night to the light of the dawn. And a big shout out to Mikey Illustrate for letting me use his artwork in the thumbnail of this video.